Hello and welcome to the Healthy Education Podcast, coming to you out of health education at the Athens City County Health Department. I'm your host, Ward Bryson, the ComCore member serving with the Health Education Department this year, and I am supported by Logan Lambert behind the scenes, our sound tech, who is a ComCore member serving at Nelsonville York Schools. The goal of this podcast is to sit down and have a conversation with people who are working and serving in Athens County in order to get a better understanding of the contributions that they make to the community and how those contributions bring us towards healthier futures. This podcast is based out of the Health Education Division at Athens City County Health Department, which works to make the health choice the easy choice through policy, system, and environmental changes. Logan and myself are both serving members of ComCore, a local state national branch of AmeriCorps based out of Ohio University's Heritage College of Osteopathic Medicine, which places members throughout Athens County in order to contribute to community health in a variety of ways, many of which we'll examine during this podcast. Today our guests are Drew Sims and Becky Handa from Athens County Children's Services. Thank you both for being on this podcast today.
Awesome. Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.
So, we're here just to talk about the Children's Services School Outreach Team and just to get an idea of what you all do. I'm not going to give an intro on that because I don't know nearly enough to do that, but why don't we get to that after we talk about who the two of you are. Let's start with our fellow ComCore member, Drew. We've talked about ComCore before on the podcast. Let's talk about Drew. Why don't you tell us a bit about yourself personally, your relationship to our community, kind of how you found yourself where you're at right now?
Yeah, so I am from the Appalachia area of southeastern Ohio, Gallipolis. And so I kind of just didn't know what to do. And I was seeking out opportunities online, and I found AmeriCorps, ComCore, and I thought it was a great opportunity. And then I saw the Children's Services position and thought that with my interest, that I would be good for the role. And so I applied, and I got to meet Becky here, and she can tell you a little bit about herself.
Hello, I'm Becky Handa. I moved to the Athens County area when I was 6 years old. I've lived in the Gloucester area, graduated from Trimble High School, went on to graduate from Ohio University, and I'd always found myself passionate about working with people that had been through adversities and hardships and wanting to help people. And so I started working at Athens County Children's Services in 2005, so almost 17 years ago, and it's been a perfect place to be able to help families in need.
Great, that's very noble. Just for clarification's sake, what is each of your position title?
So I am the Trimble School Outreach Caseworker for the agency.
And I think the official title is School Outreach Member for me.
Okay, yes, we are all members, right? I'm the Health Education Member. All right. Well, it's a pleasure to meet both of you. I'm sure our listeners are thrilled as well. Let's take our little look-see over at Children's Services. Just kind of broadly, Becky, could you explain what Athens County Children's Services is and does in the county?
Okay. Our mission at Athens County Children's Services is protecting children, strengthening families, and securing futures.
Great. Okay. And what are some specific programs that ACCS has a hand in or manages in the area?
Okay. A few of the programs sponsored by Athens County Children's Services that School Outreach has a hand in are the Peanut Butter and Jelly Summer Feeding Program, Back to School Supply Giveaways, Social Emotional Development Groups such as Girl Circle, Girl Power, Band of Brothers, Superflex Academy, and Spartan Sibs. We also help families sign up for the Santa Tree Christmas Project and Kicks for Kids that give an opportunity for kids to have new shoes before they start back at school.
Oh, that's great. Okay, so that's the broad peak. Now let's kind of change tack to the School Outreach Team, where you are both placed. Becky, you work there. Drew, you serve. We got to note that. Both of you are affiliated there. What are the goals of the team, and is there kind of a specific mission?
So our school outreach mission is to be the link between the home, the school, and the community. We provide services to students and families and the school by supporting academic and social success, but also meeting basic needs and advocating on behalf of the families and students in our district.
Okay. How many people are on the team? Is it a big team? Is it just a couple of you and maybe somebody else?
So we have 5 school outreach caseworkers, and each worker is placed in one of the local school districts in Athens County.
Okay, and then Drew just runs around all over?
Yep.
Yep.
And Drew is divided between all of us, and then we have a supervisor that oversees the program as well. Her name is Sarah Spence.
Okay. And Becky, what does your day-to-day look like at Trimble? Does it change very, very much, or is it pretty regular?
Every day looks a little different based on the needs of the school and the families that we serve in each of the districts. Sometimes we're helping families find reliable transportation or safe, affordable housing, helping with basic needs like food boxes. And also, in addition to meeting the requests that are coming in from school staff and families, we also run groups out at the different school districts. And Drew has helped me run some groups out at Trimble. Band of Brothers is one of the groups that Drew started this year at Trimble. It's a social emotional development group working with boys from 4th grade to 8th grade, and he partnered with Rural Action to do that.
I think that you should tell them the story about the one student who requested a boys group a few years ago.
Yeah, okay. So, Children's Services has had the school outreach program for 15 years. It started in 2005. It started with just Trimble and Federal Hawking schools, and then a few years later in 2010, it started with Athens City School District, and then we added on Alexander and Nelsonville. Well, Trimble has always had this group called Girl Power. It's off of a curriculum called Girl Circle, and it's very successful, and we have a big dance and dinner at the end of the year to celebrate all of our accomplishments. Well, right before the pandemic started, I had a 4th grade boy write a letter advocating for a boys group and said he doesn't understand why all the girls get to have the fun and there's nothing for the boys. So I really took that to heart, and I wanted to find a program that would work. And unfortunately, the pandemic hit, and we weren't able to run groups, and the schools were shut down for a while. So it was definitely a goal of mine this year when we started back up, and I got to meet Drew, talking with him, and coming up with a plan to develop, having some fun with the boys to come up with things to help with team building and leadership and survivor skills and hygiene and just communication skills.
Yeah, all kinds of things to help with their social development.
Yeah.
And that boy who wrote the letter ended up being in our middle school group as well.
Aw.
So, yeah.
He's now he was a 6th grader this year.
Does he know that he caused this? Okay.
Yes.
Sounds like he takes some pride in that.
Oh, yeah.
I am kind of curious, you mentioned blessing boxes off mic earlier. What are some other ways like that you all, or that ACCS gets involved in the health of Athens County?
So Athens County Children's Services does a lot to help address food insecurities in the county. I was talking about the peanut butter and jelly program earlier. We are now at our 15th annual peanut butter and jelly summer feeding program. But the agencies also place blessing boxes around the county. So they're all throughout the county. And it's boxes located in easily accessible areas that has shelf-stable food placed in them. And the community can donate to the box or take from the box, depending on what the need is. So I know Drew has went around to help fill those blessing boxes to make sure there's food in there when they get low. We also have, and most of the school districts, weekend food bags. When school is in session, there's been a lot of concern that the kids are getting free or reduced lunches and breakfast while they're at school, but then there isn't anything to help supplement on the weekends. So we figure out who would be in need and place weekend food bags in the book bags every Friday before they go home for the weekend. We also have holiday food boxes that we help with and emergency food boxes. For example, today I was talking to Drew and I had a family reach out that had fallen on some hard times and wasn't expecting that and needed a food box. So I called Drew, our ComCore member, and said, can you help get me this box and get it delivered to the home? And he is doing that for me today.
Good job, Drew.
We also partner with Athens Country Club, and so once a month we are able to deliver hot meals to families in need straight from the country club.
Really? Wow. Like, so they just have a kind of a restaurant there or something, and so they produce this? Wow. That's very cool. Speaking of what Drew does, actually, just in terms of a more formal sense, what is Drew and the ComCore member generally? What is their role on the team?
So the ComCore member really supports the school outreach team by helping us address those food insecurities that we were talking about, running programs in the school, and helping us problem solve our day-to-day referrals and requests that come in from families, and how we can just help support our communities. So Drew kind of has a hand in a little bit of everything on our team.
Okay. That kind of checks from what I've heard just through Drew and just through this conversation. It sounds like he's popping up all over the place. Drew, we've already kind of got the idea that there is no day in the life for you, but if you could still maybe to like a week in the life, what is your general time like at the school outreach team?
Yeah, so throughout the whole school year, school's over now, so it looks different, but I would spend my days at usually Nelsonville or Trimble. There would be some times that would pop up where I'd have to help another school district, but usually I would spend most of my days at those two schools, and I would do a lot of lunch groups with students. I, helped pack the Pride packs, put them in the backpacks, help pack the Buckeye bags, things of that nature. Really, every day was different. I could get a text and have to go pick up Little Caesars pizza for an event. I could, it just really was different every single day. There were some consistents of, for example, working with specific students who, so there's this student that has behavioral issues, and so as like a reward for the end of the day, he would come down and play basketball with me at like 2:00
Aww.
every day that I was there. And so that was something, but also I helped with the Band of Brothers. Well, I actually started the Band of Brothers, and initially we just did 4th grade, and I was just by myself, and Hopewell, their case manager at Trimble, also helped me, but it was really mainly like I planned everything and he was there for support. And I realized that was more support needed for me, and so I reached out to Rural Action and got Carrie at Rural Action to help out with more of the activity planning, because I wasn't the best at coming up with activities, whereas they had a lot of activities already because they do so many camps, and so they got to learn how to start a fire without like with these little 2 metal blades.
Flint and steel,
something like that. I'm not good with
Were you a scout?
Outdoors stuff. Actually, my dad was a scout leader for a minute, so I was, but I do not remember anything. But yeah, it really just changed every single day, but most of it had to do with food insecurity.
Well, that basketball story really speaks to kind of the more human side of our service and of the kind of work that you do, Becky, is like people hear that we just meet with these people or we help support them with food access, and they're like, okay, you're just carrying food around. But that's a very tailor-made situation to really help one kid out, and you were able to do it. And that's very cool, I think, at least, and speaks to the human side of your service.
And I was talking to my supervisor. I thought it was so cool to see the growth from day one of me meeting that student to the last day of school. Was something special, and there was definitely a lot of growth. Of course, it was a team effort. Like, it wasn't just me, but it was cool to be able to work with the same student
and to be
for
part
a
of
whole
it.
school year. Yeah.
Kind of looking back at your ComCore service away from your site, how do you feel that your site service has informed that ComCore service, and vice versa?
Yeah, I think they really go hand in hand with one another. Just like I was saying a few minutes ago, I was able to work on these groups, and I was able to work with students as well. And so, for example, helping Live Healthy Appalachia with their Live Healthy Kids programming at Nelsonville, going into a classroom, I didn't feel like I didn't know what I was doing. I knew how to, interact with children better, but also just interacting with the community as a whole, and going out to individuals' homes for my jobs has informed how I even just look at people within the community, and so I think just this experience has been valuable in multiple different ways, and probably more than I can name.
Totally. Especially in your role where you are literally covering the ground of the entire county, probably more than any other ComCore member. You are out there at every end of Athens. You kind of already answered this. I'm going to assume your answer is yes. Do you feel that you've made an impact on the lives of the students that you're serving with?
Yeah, there's definitely a few students in particular that I had grown close to that I've seen a difference in.
Great. All right. We are nearing the end of our little interview. I'm so glad that you both came onto our podcast. Just as a little closing question, are there any moments that have given you hope that really come to mind that make you feel that the service and the work that you're doing is worth it?
Absolutely. I think helping a family that is facing hardships and being that support to them in that moment may be something that seems small to us, like providing some blankets or a food box, but to them, knowing that they have supports out there, I feel helps them keep just motivated to stay positive and to keep moving forward and not to give up, because it does truly take a community. And that's what we're out there. We work, school outreach is not, you don't have to apply. It's free to anybody that is in one of our schools, and we're in all of the school districts. And if a student or a family has needs, they can reach out, and they're going to have supports available to them.
That's great. That's just amazing how you're just talking about the access and what that means for the people of Athens.
I think for me, it's similar to Becky, where it's just 1,000 little moments I can look back on that bring me hope. And so it's not one in particular moment that I see hope in, but rather so many.
Thank you so much for speaking with me today. I love both of your answers, everything you had to say. I've learned a lot about children's services and the school outreach team and everything that you both do in our community. So thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you to our listeners for listening. You did not have much forewarning here, but this is actually the last episode of our podcast for this ComCore service term. I will miss speaking into this mic and getting to know Athens County alongside all of you, and I appreciate you tuning in. Have a good weekend and have a good summer.